Good morning. I'm still down here in Roanoke attending this Soil and Water State Conference, and I'm walking out of the hotel, which is an historic monument. And it's a little raw out here, a little cold, but I've missed my own walk and talks. So I haven't been able to do much because I have some responsibilities to oversee 6 counties in an area of the state on soil and water issues, and then I have to report at other meetings what we found at our meeting. So that's where I am. Returning to the broader world, the DC Bar Association is conducting hearings involving our boy Rudy Giuliani, and he's somewhat on the ropes. You know, he's his rope-a-dope, that is his resistance to the questioners, has not been very effective, at least from what I can tell. And I haven't watched the whole thing, and it sounds like the kind of thing that we don't think that highly of when we're actually there, because they argue back and forth. What I'm walking on now is a bridge between the hotel, which is behind me, quite amazing, and downtown, which is in front of me. And years ago I had cases down here, and it's amazing to see how the city has changed, that is, in terms of the development. There's a very peculiar museum down here that, I say peculiar because the architecture leaves something to be desired, I suppose. We have to cross the tracks, literally, to go to downtown. Going back to Rudy, it seems to me, is fighting to save his license from suspension or disbarment in D.C. for how he conducted himself when he was fighting in Pennsylvania and claiming there was both law and fact that justified throwing out the results. Crazy, wrong, unsupported, and that's what he's taking a beating for, because he can't justify what he was doing. And so the chances are great, I think, that he'll be suspended. See, there's the museum. That he'll be suspended, if not disbarred. And most of us feel more than that. We think he should be indicted and prosecuted for what he did with false data and imaginary law to try to overturn our government. And you have to look at him as a ringleader in this regard, because he was so intimately involved in the whole thing. How could you think anything else? So we won't have a decision for a while. Those overseeing the proceeding are not happy with everybody shouting back and forth at each other. But you got to wonder, how could it be any way other than that when it involves Rudy? Now, Rudy and I were lawyers together in the Southern District of New York as prosecutors, and he was a different person. He's a Bobby Kennedy Democrat. He was very, how would I say, he was very helpful to others. He was a different person than he is now, and a lot of years have passed between then and now, and it just goes to show that ambition, power, money, whatever, can go a long way to compromising the character of anybody. How's it go? Power corrupts. Power corrupts. Absolutely, when it has enough absolute power. So, also in the political realm, Warnock is favored to come out of the Georgia runoff election well. Of course, as I understand it, it's raining there. I don't know if that'll affect the fall off on election day. There's been so much advance voting, it's hard to say that in the end, a fall off on election day may actually favor Warnock because of all the advance voting. But this is all guesswork about the turnout the vote operation. And hours from now we'll know. So I wait on that. I'm hoping we're going to have one up senator after this election. It's Keith in Ukraine has been attacking Russia with drones with some success. So that's annoying to them. You know, people talk about Russia coming forward to have settlement discussions. I just don't see it. I don't see how it's possible. We're walking in the downtown area now, which is just over that bridge that I walked. I'm wearing the mask because there are people out here and it's not like my usual walk. And because of the convention, I've gotten used to this, and I'm especially sensitive to the danger because you see very few people wearing masks, keeping their distance. And the doctors at Johns Hopkins have told us to beware because the dangers are up, not down. As you can see, people are working hard at actually earning a living here. The last thing I think is kind of interesting on the same framework is how the GOP wants to end the military vaccination program because they don't think it's necessary. We don't have to have that mandate. That's as doctors are reporting the rise between the virus and the flu to make people, unsafe to wander around without distancing and wearing masks and so forth. And there's also been a more lively concern since Thanksgiving. So that's pretty much what I have to say. The Hill today had a celebration of those officers who perhaps saved the democracy by risking their lives, having injury, and in several cases finding themselves disabled for life. Both parties hosted a ceremony to honor those officers today. The interesting thing is as the officers walked by and shook the hands of the politicians who were present, they didn't shake McConnell's hand or McCarthy. Can you blame them? Now, McConnell gave lip service but didn't follow through in terms of action. McCarthy, pretty much the same thing. And to say one or the other is worse is meaningless when neither has shown the action to do what's necessary. In these final days in December, as Congress is turning down its operation for the Democrats and getting ready for the Republicans, we have to hope that the January 6th committee doesn't miss the opportunity, its last, to say what they have to say about referring crimes specifically to DOJ or anyone who's willing to prosecute these ne'er-do-wells. What we've learned is that there are different rules for certain people. Rudy Giuliani, Trump, the list goes on. And if you or I were to do any of these things, not that we would, they'd have us down on the ground in a day, our reputations destroyed, our property seized. There's a little bit of seasonal music. And there would be just no remorse about how hard they'd hit us or fear of hypocrisy for their failure to do anything involving the real criminals here, Trump and his corrupt minion. So here I am in downtown, well, I think it's Old Town, really. Old Town, Roanoke. And it's quite different than years ago when I came down here for a trial. So I say goodbye to you in the downtown area among these wonderful shops, some of which have the best coffee you can imagine. Bye-bye.